Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Eyitayo. It's such a pleasure to have you here today. And this is Friday, another Friday. And like people would like to say, thank God it's Friday, the 17th of September 2021. And we'd like to welcome you on the show. If you're just joining us, we'd like you to tell us your name, tell us your location, where you're streaming from. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like to know if it's your first time on the show. And if you're a first timer, we have the bell of blessing for you. And also would like to welcome you to our tribe. The Good Morning Education Show, it's a show that takes place from Monday to Sunday, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. We have the weekend special, which is actually Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is 9 to 10. And then, of course, Sunday is 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And on the show, we have something that we normally say, which is always like our mantra. We say that it's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. And I believe that it's going to be a great morning for you, as well as it is a great morning for all of us on the show. We are always joined by fantastic experts and analysts who share their views and their concerns and their expertise on subject matter that we treat from time to time. And of course, if you're wondering where I'm streaming from, once again, I'm streaming from Lagos to Nigeria to West Africa, and to the entire world. The Good Morning Education Show is such a lovely show, and we always welcome contributions and questions from you, our dear audience. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to ask your questions, and I believe that we'll try as much as possible to provide answers that you might be looking forward to. And without wasting much time, I'm going to welcome one of our analysts to the studio. Welcome, Fee. Good morning, Fee. How are you? Hello, Fee. Are you there? Fee, are you there? Oh, I'm afraid we probably lost that. That could probably be internet issues. Okay, so without wasting much time, as usual on the show, we have what we call. Okay, I think she's back. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning, and good morning to everyone out there. It's a beautiful morning. It's another bright morning on the show.
Okay, and I was just telling our tribe members that for those who probably are joining us for the first time, that the Good Morning Education Show is not just Mondays to Fridays, but it's now Mondays all through to Sunday. So you get a bit of us every single day. Every single day. Are you there now?
Yes, I am.
So I believe you're ready for the headline.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so over to you.
Our first headline this morning: Wale Soyinka is on Wale Soyinka. Solving mathematics saved me from insanity during 27 months incarceration. Okay. Yeah. Elder statesman and Nobel laureate Professor Wale Soyinka has disclosed how solving mathematical problems saved him from insanity during his 27 months of incarceration. Soyinka said though he disliked the subject while in secondary school, Mathematics actually became his saving grace while he was undergoing incarceration by a military junta. I'll skip to a point where he said something about the teachers. He said, at school, the Nobel laureate said, I hated mathematics, but with that, I even had a C. I hated my teachers who were very brilliant at mathematics, but they forced it down our throats, whether we liked it or not. That part of the body of the news caught my attention. That I think we have talked once about teaching methods of teaching mathematics and getting students on board, carrying them along, and ensuring that we are making an impact on their lives. When students see mathematics as that thing that it is forced on them, that they are required to do, whether they like it or not, the truth is the way the subject is presented, it makes it something that students fear. But we can do better with our presentation of the subject to students. Moving on, Lagos Environment Commissioner's wife, Prof. Ibiyemi Bello, new LASU VC. Prof. Ibiyemi Olatunji Bello has emerged as the new Vice Chancellor of the Lagos State University, LASU. The Dawn is the wife of ex-secretary to the state government and current commissioner for environment, Tunji Bello. Ibiyemi becomes the ninth LASU VC after months of an intriguing selection process. Uh, until now, Ibiyemi, a professor of medicine, was LASU acting VC. Congratulations to Prof. Ibiyemi Bello. However, I have a little issue with the way this news is presented. There is so much emphasis put on who the husband is, or so and so person's wife becomes LASU VC. And later on, they list her accomplishment, her educational background, and all of that. I think the persona is strong enough to ride on her own name to say Prof. Ibiyemi Bello is the new LASU VC, without it being that, oh, she's the wife of this person, her husband is this person. But congratulations to Prof. Ibiyemi Bello, and we are rooting for her and wishing her a smooth and very productive tenure in office. Why we must make quality education affordable. Adebogun, Caleb University owner. The Chief Executive Officer and founder, Caleb Group of Schools, which includes Caleb University, Imota, Lagos, Dr. Oladega Adebogun, is not only a firm believer in the provision of quality education, but one that is provided at affordable cost for as many people as possible to benefit. Not only that, he believes coming from a poor background should not be a factor to stop the realization of the academic pursuit of anybody. As such, persons should be encouraged with scholarship and other incentives to march forward. And I am on the same page with Prof. Adebogun on this. As sorry, with Dr. Dr. Adebogun, he's probably on his way to becoming a prof. Really, quality education should not be a privilege. It should be within the reach of everyone who really desires to have that kind of education. And if what Caleb University or Caleb Group is what they're proposing and what they are implementing is part of what will help to make education affordable and make education accessible to more people, then kudos to them. And here's hoping that others follow in that footstep and that as we can have more children in school than out of school. We saw some of statistics yesterday. It wasn't really cool. Yeah, our next headline, WASE 2021, WAEC reveals when results will be available. This information is for those who took the last the last WASE, for their parents, for the students, for their guardians. So the West African Examinations Council has revealed when the results of the ongoing 2020 West African Senior School Certificate Examination will be available. According to BBC News Pidgin, the Examination Council's Director of Public Affairs, Demanos Ojijiogo, said the results will be out 45 days after the last paper is written. Ojijiogo reportedly added that the certificate will also be available 90 days after the last paper is written. So for all those who are concerned, please take notes. Please take notes. I would resist the urge to make any comments about the timelines of releasing the results or of making the certificates available. But please take notes. Oyo honors 8 students for outstanding performance in math competition. The Oyo State government on Thursday gave 8 students of primary, junior, and senior secondary schools various awards for their outstanding performances at the just concluded 2021 Nigeria National Mathematics Competition. At the awards ceremony held in Ibadan, the secretary to the state government, Mrs. Olubamiwo Adeosun, commended the young awardees for their brilliant performances at the just concluded mathematical competition held in Kano State. She noted that the students who represented the state had set unprecedented records and kept the flag of the state flying. Uh, Congratulations to all the students who represented Oyo State. Congratulations to their teachers uh, who prepared them for the competition, and to the students. We say, keep going, keep getting better. There is always room to do more, to be more, and this is not your landing pad. This is your leap forward into greater things. So congratulations to them, to the school, and to Oyo State as a whole. And with that, we have come to the end of the headlines this morning. The topic for today is, can we export our education? That's the question we are asking this morning. At the state our education is in the country currently, have we are we at a comfortable place to say we are exporting our education, not just our educators, but our education? You step into schools and you hardly come across any of the private schools, at least for government schools or public schools. You have what they call the Nigerian curriculum. But when you get to private schools, you don't get to hear about the Nigerian curriculum like that. If at all they are bringing in that curriculum, then they say it's either the Nigerian, British, and American curriculum, or the Nigerian and American curriculum, or they mix it with something so that it looks like our curriculum cannot stand on its own. Like it needs the help of other foreign curriculum to give it a boost and to make it acceptable. And if we have this, I refer to it as an identity problem. If we have this identity problem in with our curriculum, and our education has not really found its place, how ready are we to export our education? How ready are we to say, look, we're opening up our doors for we're opening up our doors for the world to see what we are doing, and how far we have gone with our education. So this is what our discussion this morning will be on. Can we export our education? I think the first question we should be answering when it comes, or the first thing we should be asking when it comes to exporting our education is, what is good quality? What is good export quality? Rather, what is good export quality? What puts us at that point where we can conveniently say, oh, this is, before you export goods, it goes through quality control checks. There are different regulators that check and say, oh, okay, it meets the standard, it meets the standard. If we were to subject our education as it is right now to quality check and to quality control, will we pass the quality control tests? Are we at that point where we can say, yes, uh, we we're comfortable with what we have? And for me, high quality standard or high export standard is one that has served the home or the originating base from very well. It has served it so well that it's very it's not a problem to see the it's not a problem for us to say, to call on the world to say, come and have a feel of our come and have a feel of our of what we have on offer. It's not. It's one that we are very proud of saying we want to share this with you because we have tried it, we have tested it, and we have come to the point where it is very obvious to us that
Hello, Finn, can you hear me? All right. Today is another day, and I think we've been having connectivity issues. First, it was my connection. Now, Follows connection, and the conversation today is on um, the possibility, a question, if we can export our education. I know that a lot of people have different views to this. Um, and I also know that beyond just the views, people are looking forward to the reality of getting the benefits of the kind of education that we have. The question that we should ask is, what is education export? I believe that that's the very first thing that comes to mind. Education export is the capacity of being able to transfer knowledge beyond a particular space, sphere, and border. Ability to do that beyond a particular geographical location, especially for the purpose of value, for the purpose of exchange, and also for the purpose of commerce. And I think that that's really where it is. Can we export our education? I think, yes, we can. Have we been exporting our education? Oh, yes, we have. But then, of course, we all know that when we begin to address the subject matter, to be specific, addressing it to the root and the core, you begin to realize that it's really something that we are not doing as we should. It's not something we are doing as leverage can actually be created. And when you look at countries that have demonstrated this reality, you kind of wonder, was it something that happened by stroke of luck? Was it something that happened through happenstance? Is it just coincidental, or was it by design? You will realize that when you value education, it's not just because of the principle of reading and writing or literacy, but valuing education is really also for the purpose of you being able to get into the space and creating industries out of it. Education is a component of the entire nation's economy, and it's part and parcel of the critical success factor of any nation. And of course, you've always heard that you can't rise above the level of your civilization. And the instrument of that, or the instrumentality of that, is education. So let's think about it. Um, so when you begin to think about how much education has contributed or has been enabled and structured to contribute to the GDP of the country, that's the gross domestic product, you know, um, you realize that it now becomes something that is worth exporting, because just like we export oil, we should be able to export education. And exporting something does not necessarily mean that the thing leaves your shore or domain. It means that you've been able to create a market appeal for it, even though it originates from your current base. I'm looking forward to a situation, a scenario where um, we begin to realize that enrollment should be focused on people outside of the country. We should know that the world is actually the market space, and you cannot perfect what you've not practiced, which brings us to a concern. Why is it that we are not exporting our education? And you look at it to a large extent, we've not really gained or groomed appetite for such a thing like this. You see, sometimes you find out that there are people in their locality who have not even reached out to people outside within the country, but outside their state, outside their local government. Some people don't even market their brand online. That's just to tell you the level and the degree, of some of the lack of practice of education export. Education export will definitely trigger growth beyond our expectation. Education export will definitely take us to a particular realm where you yourself will begin to realize that it is very possible for us as a nation, it's very possible for us as a sector to begin to control a huge layer of economy. There are certain things that we find out as just natural reality and phenomenal. There are some students um, when it comes to getting into university, you begin to realize that they gravitate towards other locations. They gravitate towards other locations. When it comes to, permit me to use, I don't know if I can use the name of a university, but let me try to make it practical, more practical. You listen to people say they want to go to Unilag, and you find out that a lot of people choose Unilag at the point of registering for JAM, and there are people from other states coming to Unilag, trying to make Unilag their choice. And this is the reason, because something is desirable to such people that they feel that being in Unilag is a plus, either based on quality of education, the exposure, the dynamics, or the dynamism of the education community in Unilag, and therefore, because it's also in the metropolis, which is Lagos, a metropolitan state, they also feel that, well, if you're in a school and it's in a developed place, maybe you have less of struggles, suffering, better quality of life, social life, and the likes. So bring this back to the context of what we're talking about. We must begin to have our higher institutions, or better still, we should even begin to have our K-12 schools, that's kindergarten to secondary school, begin to practice this level of reality for themselves. There's nothing stopping us from marketing, because I think it's actually not just a blind spot, it's a belief spot. We don't believe it's possible that why would I market a Nigerian school in the UK? But when you begin to follow statistics and data, you realize that as much as you are seeing people travel out of Nigeria, you also have people who have reasons to come back to Nigeria or to travel into the country. And for that purpose, they will need institutions of learning. But when we do not take this thing as an industry, well, we just believe that anyone that walks through the door, we need to inspire demand across the shores of Nigeria, across the shores of Africa. That way, we begin to see the possibility of exporting our education. So there are two questions I would like to bring up as a sub-conversation that I will throw to Finya, and probably you also ask me questions, is why have we not been able to export, and what are the prerequisites for exporting our education? Welcome back, Finya. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I think one of the reasons we've not been able to export our education is because we are not even sure yet of our identity, of the identity of our education system. So if for example, you are exporting maybe cashew nuts, you bag it and you label it, and then you can say, oh, I'm taking out of this place cashew nuts branded with this name or in this identity. But for us, it looks like we're still flailing around and trying to just grab at anything to say, oh, this is what our identity is. We're trying to blend so many things together to form who we believe we are. And so it's very important for us. We understand that we have moved away from where we used to be, but we are on our way to where we want to be. We're not there yet, and we're probably just feeling, oh, I want to go out. I have an outing, and I feel, oh, it's going to be nice for me to put on a bold necklace. At another point, I feel, no, let me put on something that is not so bold. Should I use dropping earrings? Should I use studs? It looks like that's what we are trying to do now, just to find where we truly fit into, for us to say, look, this is the face of our education, and this is what we're presenting to the world, and this is what we are asking that you come partake of. This is the offer we have to you. And I believe that until we get our identity straight, which is really embedded in our curriculum, then we may not be able to export what we have, because even on home base, we're not there yet. We're It's like we're running away from our own product. So how do we even showcase this to the world? And that's my thoughts on this. But let's welcome to the show this morning Mrs. Okeyefo Ajayi, fresh from Abuja, and the amazing presentation she had
Hi.
in Abuja. You're welcome
Good
this morning.
morning. Thanks. Good morning.
We're talking about exporting our education this morning,
Mhm.
and I would start by asking, are we export ready? If we are not export ready yet, when do you think we will be export ready?
So, I mean, for me, right, as I saw this topic, education has so many different facets, to be honest, right? The lady who is teaching me how to tie gili is educating me, and that's education. So what exactly do we want to export? Right? Are we looking at our secondary school education, primary school education, our university level education, or are we looking at the less formal, if I can use that? Because to be honest, if I have a Guinea school and I'm teaching people how to tie Guinea, that's formal, right? So what exactly are we exporting? And I believe that what we should be exporting is the uniqueness of who we are, right? So we should look at it and say, you know what, if you go through a Nigerian educational system, you come out more resilient, you come out this, you come out that, you come out this. Our cultural heritage is very colorful, and we're very creative people. Because the nitty-gritty of the primary, secondary, and university education, a lot of times children end up at the same place, right? I don't like to get into this curriculum or no curriculum, scheme of work or no scheme of work debate. I really don't like to get into it because I see it a little differently, right? And so for me, when you look at it, the books we use, if you compare all the books across different countries, it's generally almost the same thing. What's different is the pedagogy. And that's the part of it that we keep forgetting. Our pedagogy is different, right? And that's what people go out there to go and look for. They go out there and go and look for systems where talking to a teacher is easier. A teacher is more understanding. A teacher is more open-hearted towards you. The environment, again, that's the experience of education, right? The experience is different. Where you live. I was talking to somebody yesterday and he was like, he just moved his son to the University of Birmingham. And then he walked into his son's room and he's like, are you joking? That it was fantastic. And he could see that it was so easy to settle the boy. Unlike when the boy was here. It was so easy for the boy to settle in. And so even the time he felt he was going to spend, he didn't have to. So what exactly are we exporting is the question. And we need to think not just about the content, but the entire experience of it, right? Because if the way we teach the children in our nation is the way we want to teach the children in other nations, then we need to then say who is the audience. So what we need to be looking at is maybe parents, for example, who say, this US, they are too soft on my children. Let me take them back to Africa for an African education, right? So that's what we are selling. We're selling the Africanness of the way we do things. It's not the ABC and the 1, 2, 3. And we need to get that straight. It's not that, because that, honestly, I can get it online these days, right? It's the manner in which we do it that the parents are sending the children to. And then my question is that even the right way to do it? Sophie, I know that you were expecting a different answer from me this morning. The general answer is yes. Yes, we can export our education. We need to know who our audience is. We need to understand the platform that we're using to export it. We need to understand the framework within which we're going to present it. So that's the messaging around it. But the way we can, right? Because there's a market out there. For example, these people that are bringing their children to Nigeria and dropping them and going away. So it is exportable, but what's the format, right? And who is the audience? And then the way we're doing it here. Can we, like you said, catch the local market? If we catch the local market by saying, what are you looking for outside? I mean, look at the strategy that Cowbell used, right? Everybody wanted milk. Powdered milk seemed like the thing. But then there's a certain population that couldn't afford what they had back then. I'm sorry, I'm calling names, which was pig. And so Cowbell said, you know what, I'm going to give you a sachet. And that sachet exploded the market. It basically disrupted the entire powdered milk market. And so that's what we need to be thinking of, right? What are the disruptions that need to happen? And that's how I see myself, as a disruptor in the education sector, which is why sometimes it's such an uphill climb, trying to get parents to understand, teachers to understand. Just get it. It needs to be different. So, like I said, the general answer to your question is yes. Back to you, Fee. Thank you so much.
Thank you I like the angle you came from, because part of what we look at holistically in our education is not just the formal but also the informal. But like you said, for example, in guillotine, in makeup, in crafts, we have a lot of people. I have seen hyper realists from Nigeria that I saw one recently. The guy did a charcoal drawing of the queen, and it was super realistic. But if we're going to export this, do we have is it the proper packaging? Do we have the right is it standardized, or would it be each person saying, oh yeah, I'm good at drawing, I'm good at painting, I'm good at makeup, and then we just take it as individuals? Is there a need for us to institutionalize this, even though they're not the formal school skill education? Do we need to formalize and institutionalize this and make it, let it be let it have a measure of what's the word now? Can we standardize it across board so that we know that yes, you're bringing in your own creativity and your artistry and your style into this, but the the baseline for us to say we are moving this out of the country. This is the baseline. And I welcome to the show this morning, Olushola Olumide. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Finn. KK, good morning. Rotimi, good morning. Our tribe member out there, good morning.
Thank you. I would like for you to speak to the aspect of what we just raised, coming from what Mr. Ajayi just said about, yes, we have these things that we can export. We know we have them, but they're not, it's like us having chips. We have super chips, maybe Ikpekere, for example, super quality, super standard, but we still tie them in polybag. We definitely know that is not good identity, and it's not standard. So what would you say about standardizing, even if it's our skill education that we are exporting?
Thank you. And great submission there from KK. And you also said earlier on the issue of identity. Yes, standardizing it is a way to go. But before we get to that point, do we actually believe in what we have? Because when you are talking about standardization, there should be a common voice and a common front, and this is the way to go. But in a situation whereby 10% only believe in what we have, 90% doesn't believe in what we have, there will not be that uniform voice. Somebody saying blended curriculum, Nigeria, British. What is so special in the British curriculum? And since an average African or Nigeria is saying that whatever is packaged in the Igbo man's name will run after it, have you discovered that some of these schools are telling you American curriculum, British curriculum, they see it as their selling point? It's a mean to cajole the parent to bring their children. So if they don't bring the American curriculum or British curriculum into the narrative, it's as if the people will not patronize them. Yes, we have our uniqueness. And it's not just about developing curriculum or trying to copy something. Whatever we are doing should be tailored toward our need. And if we don't get these fundamentals sorted out, to standardize anything will be difficult. Because the people who are going to also be there to do the standardization doesn't even believe the product we sell. So, and like AK said, we have a uniqueness. Is it the culture? Is it the resilience? Is it the aspect of, the way we've been brought up, the respect? Or do you look at, okay, you are going to give the child a sort of heritage, so that is it the language aspect of it? That some people are now finding difficult that, oh, my words cannot speak my local language. Where did we get that from? I'm not saying whether that is good or that is bad, but part of what we are going to package will be that a parent can complain, so I'm from the East. I'm very sure when my child goes to a particular school, it will be able to speak my dialect very well. But it's as if there's this inferiority complex. If you export it, who is going to buy it? And I tell you, like AK said, the number of our people in diaspora is enough a market. Some will be it's like exporting ofada rice. Some are yearning to see ofada rice, especially when it is packaged in this our local leaf. I don't know, the sensation, the smell, the aura it brings. If all these smaller or retail outlets can be doing something in a distinctive way, how come an organized setting like education? And we seem not to believe in ourselves. So for me, I will say standardization, yes, it is good. But who are the people that will do the standardization? The belief, is it there? What are we going to package? Now, for primary and secondary school, there may be a consistency in curriculum. I hope you know it's not like that in their institution. Because what is taught in Unilag considerably differ from what is taught in UI. Even though you are offering English 101, if you go through the content of what a student offers in Unilag, there will be a disparity with the students studying English 101 in UI. So, in a way, at the higher institution level, I'm not sure if it's as rigid as what we have in primary and secondary school. So, we can export our education. However, that education of ours has to be defined, had to be not only defined, had to be appreciated, had to be celebrated. Then we can package it before we can push it out. If you don't believe in it, if you don't think it can work, you may not have the gut to speak about it. And of course, when we push it outside, we're not going to market it. Are we going to sound convincing or otherwise when we are pushing it out? Or do we see it as a project that is dead on arrival? So these are many other things that will determine if ever we're going to export our design, if standardization, as you have called it, will ever take place, and if education will be exported eventually. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. And you talked about defining what defines our education. Like we have to define what we are exporting. Yes, I agree certainly with that. But when I think about us defining our education, now beyond our school education, including everything that has to do with understanding that education is the illumination of the mind. And we have a lot of things that we can pass across to illuminate the mind. We have people coming to the country to learn how to make adire, to learn how to speak Yoruba, and then they take it back to the US, the UK, to China, and teach to children in their schools. So it's not so much about what we learn in the four walls of schools. So I'll ask Mr. Eyitayo this: what defines the Nigerian education, and who gives this definition to our education, looking at it holistically across board?
What defines? Wow, that's a very good question, and I'm excited that we have powerhouses that are already defining things in the house. The first thing that we need to understand, what defines our education is our power of contrast. That's what defines our education. You cannot pursue distinctives by being homogeneous. You cannot pursue trying to be unique by looking alike. We try to imitate an original, and the best that we arrive at is a photocopy. So you can't stand side by side with Harvard trying to behave, look, teach concept and content of Harvard. No, it's not going to work. You understand? We need to understand that what defines us is our contrast, and our contrast has elements. Number one is that we must understand that the African education experience must be the signature. You understand? And so when we say Nigerian education, automatically we need to understand that what we're saying is it's not because it is in Nigeria, it is because of the experience. We can't export geographical location of Nigeria. We can't. Nigeria is a fixed geographical location on the map. But the Nigerian experience has shown that it can be exported. Think about the Nigerian music. It is not music sung in Nigeria. It's a music experience. It's a music flavor that has gone beyond the physical location of Nigeria. And so what distinguishes our music? The experience behind our music. Number two is the quality of exchange. Now we have the contrast, now we have the experience. We now begin to need to push quality of exchange. And exchange is always communicated in a place of industry. It's not speech. Exchange does not thrive through speech. It thrives through industry. I take, for example, and I think, can I be very, very, very practical in my illustration thing? Can I? Okay,
Yes,
fantastic.
please.
Take, for example, there are few people that we already have seen that they are visionary, they have demonstrated excellence, they have quality, they have mindsets that are uncommon, and they've done some things for the past few years. This is how these things work. Take such people, push an agenda behind them. Take, for example, I want to partner with a KK. I've seen her, I've heard her, I've followed her closely. We work together, and I know that she's offering great stuff. But KK alone is not enough. So I plug in an agenda behind KK, and I say that, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then we have a trade delegation meeting, and we're going to turn KK's pursuit and outfit. We want to turn it into a major industry, so there are instrumentalities that will raise up to make KK a brand that can pull weight, not by copying other people, but at least through showcase and structure, we can say that, yes, Busy Mind, these guys are a voice. They are like your Cambridge, or better still, they are like your so kind of school. And then we'll not say, KK, we don't stop there. KK just go back not too long ago from UK. KK, we are going back to UK this time around with your admission team or your admission story, or we go together. And then we'll say, now we are pushing admission for those who want to experience the Africa education experience in Nigeria, or Nigerian education experience. And then people begin to do enrollment, not just because it's flyer by location, but now is the experience we're selling. And we're selling the experience on the strength of the experience. Do you understand? So all the gimmicks of this and this and that will not be a hold. And if somebody wants to verify KK, or somebody wants to verify the capacity of KK, they've seen by benchmarks, oh, KK was in the news. KK, this is it. She's verified. She's this. Oh, she won this award. She did this. At the end of the day, guess what happens? That becomes one of the schools. Please understand, for every plane that lands in Nigeria from any country, most of those seats in the plane are filled up. In fact, I don't have a current statistic, but a very frequent flyer and with authority to the conversation, the person said something and said, that for every plane coming into Nigeria, the business class is always filled up. Plane leaving Nigeria, sometimes you still have spare seats. So what does that mean? There's the influx that is a product of an export or exchange somewhere else. And without exchange, export is not complete. So what defines our education? I think it's the distinctive fact that we are contrasting ourselves. Whatever is obtainable via the models of education being practiced, whatever is obtainable via the other areas, we now contrast it. We don't compete with them. We contrast with them. That is how real competition will take place. They taught maths in this particular way. Everybody's singing Khan Academy, Khan Academy, Khan Academy. I didn't want to say that. But everybody's saying that. But when will we go back to say Busy Mind model, Busy Mind BMM, or Busy Mind is BM, right? Then plus model, BMM model, the BMM model. If we put energy strategy, we have content here. You know what we are saying. One education show will partner with it. Team masters will partner, educators will partner with it, and all the other platform partners will push it to up and will show records of the successes over the past few years. Are you saying we cannot find 10 schools to model that will become a national school for us? And that becomes a national phenomenon. And it doesn't have to do with curriculum. Please understand. Curriculum is also overrated facade in distinctives of schools. Curriculum is not all those things we call it, whether it's Nigerian or non-Nigerian, whether it's blended or not blended. In fact, the more we keep saying blended curriculum, the more we are talking about our ignorance, because you don't say you blended curriculum. You have a curriculum. If you went through blending, fine. If you went through, is that not the same thing called curriculum design? You design something to create an experience. So you should actually be talking about your school experience, not your school curriculum. Your school curriculum is the vehicle that interprets and conveys that experience. A lot of schools don't have distinctives. That's the truth about it. Apart from their name, apart from their logo, apart from their price, apart from their location, what else distinguishes them? They're in a similar industry with similar pricing, similar market, similar customer base. And it's time we get to do that. We have fantastic people. It's not that someone will say, oh, you mentioned KK. Well, it's what I know I will talk about. Do you get what I'm trying to? And why shouldn't we push the thing? That's the problem with Africa. We do not, when we recognize people, we do not celebrate them. Even when we celebrate them, we do not push them. And when we push them, we don't put all our weight and agenda behind them. And that's why growth cannot turn from business to industry. Once we turn these little things into industry, guess what will happen? People will begin to come. People took palm kernel from Nigeria in the 1960s. And that time we're in fact, we're considered the top oil producing from palm kernel a nation in the world. Guess what? China has beaten us to palm kernel. East Asia has beaten us to palm kernel production. They took seedlings. The same thing with pawpaw. They took it from Nigeria. They did study, they did research. Now we've taken Montessori from other countries. We've taken Khan Academy from other countries. We've taken Australian curriculum, Singaporean curriculum, Finnish curriculum. We've celebrated Finland to the point that we don't have an identity anymore. So we are saying that you must have a master's before you teach in a class. Let's come to reality. What's the master's experience of Nigeria? When you go to Nigerian school and you have master's, you'll be a more frustrated educator, because for the first 4 years you are frustrated. The remaining 4 years, what happens? I mean, the remaining 2 years in your master's experience, you are not, see, head knowledge does not transform a society. It's a heart experience. And we need to get to that point. And there are fantastic people who have not even stress themselves to get to that point. That is how we can distinguish ourselves and say, this is what defines us. You will be shocked. People will stand up and be counted, because there are people across several industries who something is like a ticking time bomb in them. And there's an experience we have to give. It's called the Nigerian education. And it is not a curriculum. It is an experience. Then when we come into the stage, we will now start designing and patterning curriculums behind it. And everybody won't do the same thing, because contrast is the real competition. Thank you.
Wow, that was deep, and that was a lot. Contrast is what defines our education experience. Contrast is what sets us apart. And while KK was talking, you said something about this same thing. You touched about the experience and the identity of our learning, but let's look at even within the non-school teaching and education experience. Are we not eroding our what is ours? Are we not eroding that our winning edge? Are we not eroding our cutting edge and trying to form to look like others? So you have somebody who says, oh, my restaurant is maybe bush kitchen, for example. They call it bush kitchen. And you expect that getting to that place, you're seeing things that remind you of a connection to maybe the African village setting. But what you see there are leather chairs. You're seeing something brought in. For some, they will even leave the tag in obvious places for you to see that this was imported from Italy, this was brought in from Spain, this came in from Germany. And then those things that contribute to our experience, are we not gradually losing our edge on what is peculiarly ours? And if this, what should we be doing to ensure that we don't lose this identity that is our export edge? Kiki, over to you. Okay, I'm not sure if she's still there. I'm not hearing anything.
Maybe she didn't hear. Did you say?
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said to me, actually.
I said it now.
I was struggling to hear you. I couldn't hear you. Please, if you could repeat.
Okay. I said we're steadily losing our peculiar edge, our contrast. We're steadily losing it because we want to look like others. So even when we name something, maybe after a cultural experience, we name something like I've passed by some restaurants where I see something alamala. But then you step into the place and it feels like you stepped into a restaurant in Italy. And this is supposed to be the peculiar edge for exports. What should we be doing so that we don't lose this thing that is peculiar to us, that experience? Because there's been a lot of hammering on the experience. It is the experience that we are exporting, not necessarily anything new, but that experience.
Yeah.
What should we be doing to ensure we preserve this experience and this identity that we have?
I mean, that's a really good question, right? The first thing is to recognize that we even have an identity at all. When we have recognized that we have an identity, then we need to know what it is, right? And we need to know how we engage with that identity, how we connect and relate with it. Once we have that understanding, and then we need to then go. So my experience with drinking Coke is different from my experience with drinking Fanta. Not that I necessarily like either of the two sodas. I'm sorry, I seem to be calling a lot of brands on your show this morning. Not that I particularly like either of those sodas, right? But the experiences are different. And so we need to understand the fact that people come to us for different things. But what do they come to us for? Do you understand? So for a lot of people, those organizations you just mentioned, they might feel people are just coming for the amala, forgetting the fact that it's eating it in a place where there are flies buzzing around the food that they are coming to. You know, and that's the same thing with the concept of education. Why are parents coming to us? What is it that they need, right? And how is our originality infused into what we do? But we need to first of all even understand the fact that we have this originality, and then understand what the people. So, what do people like about Mr. Rotimi Eyitayo, for example? Why do they sign up for his ginger me sessions? It's because Rotimi is no nonsense. He will tell you as it is. If you're not happy about it, you know what? Drink your Fanta and rest. Right, but he will tell you as it is, right? So we need to understand who we are, be comfortable in who we are, and that's the only way feeling, right? That we'll be comfortable enough to say, this is who I am. I was having a conversation with my staff this morning. And one thing I said is, look, you know what? So a particular parent who was meant to, we told the parent the child could not move to a new class for XYZ reasons, and they didn't agree with us. And you know what? They sent an email this morning. They eventually called and said, oh, just let the child go, da, 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 da. And we said, put it in writing. But they didn't. And so this morning, they sent an email that they were moving their child to another school. And I said, that's fine. So when they came to me, I said, you know what? And told me about it. I said, you know what? I'm okay with that. We need to stand for something, right? But you need to be strong enough in what you stand for, because it's not easy. You're going to be swimming up against the current a lot of times. So it needs to be worth your while. You need to know, you know what? I know for whom I am called, and I can reach them in this way. And you need to be very clear. So for me, messaging is critical. Oh, sorry about the background noise. I'm sorry about the background noise. As you can tell, I'm right in my element. We need to know for whom we are called, right? And when we are messaging, we need to be clear with our messaging such that we are infusing those originality into our message. Because some people we're talking to, especially if we're thinking of export, and the platform, one of which Mr. Rotimi had mentioned, if we're thinking of exporting it differently on the platform, they may never come to our society. But what is it that we're doing even on those sort of platforms that maintain our originality, but do not detract from the core of what it is that we're doing? Right? Because I'm having a great experience doesn't mean the original core content for which I'm paying for is missing. Right? So again, we need to understand who we're called to, understand who we are, and be accepting of who we are, because we're totally different, right? And then, like Mr. Rotimi says, present that contrast in such a way that those who want it can recognize it, and then they know that they can access it. And of course, like Mr. Olushola said, it must be standardized in such a way that we can keep replicating it. If not, then we have a huge problem on our hands. Yeah, so that's it from me. Back to you, Faye.
Thank you very much. And I like the flair of the sound of the voices of the children in the background. We are here because of them. So that just adds flair. I just asked Flair to. And as we round off this morning, I'll ask Mr. Olumide to close us on with his parting shot on our export. What are your parting shots this morning?
Well, my parting shot this morning will be that we should not give up. Like KK just said now, replicating it. Stand for something. You know, as Rotimi was rounding off that mini master class lecture, I was thinking in my mind that it will take legion of educators to help our parents, because that's another side we have not mentioned. You know that consumption is a product of perception, not necessarily of quality. When people, that's why a lot of companies are into a lot of advert. They sort of colonize us mentally. When parents who are supposed to be our clients, I think it will take effort to recolonize them. They have a mindset. If you come up, want to a unique experience and say, you know what, for my kindergarten, for my first 2-3 year pupil, we'll be teaching them in English, then we'll also be teaching them in a local dialect. How to speak the local dialect very well, probably read and mark, and the child comes home and like some of the parents are not even happy that ọmọ mi Yorùbá má dẹ̀ ló ń sọ kẹ́, ṣé nǹkan tẹ́ ń kọ́ wọn ní school nìyẹn? As if he speaks better grammar, that will translate into money into the pocket of the mother. In a way, ignorantly, we show off that my child can speak English, even though the child doesn't understand what he or she is being taught in school. So I feel we keep pushing, we should be consistent, we should be replicating it, stand for something until we're able to change the perception of the parent. Because from this angle now, my thought went to the parent and like, how do we convince them? Because the child cannot decide for himself. It is the mother or the father who decides. So we cannot leave the parent out of the equation. So recolonizing them, knowing that we have our uniqueness, the diversity strengthens us, is our unique selling point, and that will give us that unique experience that differs from every other experience. By so doing, we have something worthwhile to export. Because if others are not having that our experience, they can buy into it. If you want to export what people already have, they won't buy it from you. So that is my take. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. And we have had an explosive discussion this morning. I feel like this should be expanded into maybe a physical training or a town hall meeting discussion, something that, because these are things that we really need to be talking about, we need to put on the front burner. And this morning, we have touched on this essential aspects of our education and our identity as a people and as it reflects in our education. Thank you so much for being here, Mrs. Okenfo Ajayi, Mr. Odushola Olumide, Mr. Rotimi Eyitayo. Thank you for being here. Thank you also for joining us on the other side, Adelola Edema Judge, and all other silent viewers. Thank you for being with us this morning. Tomorrow is another day on the show. Yes, tomorrow. It's not a mistake. Tomorrow is another day. Saturday, we are back here at 9 o'clock. And Sunday, we are also here at 5 o'clock. It's the Good Morning Education Show feeling in the evening. That Sunday feeling is always, it hits differently. If you know, you know. You don't want to miss out on what that experience is. So join us tomorrow and join us on Sunday. But before we go this morning, we will wish you a great day ahead in our very unique and distinct way. This is our own identity. This is the experience you have from the Good Morning Education Show, and we can only make it better. We will not erode it. So let's go on to wish our tribe members a happy day ahead this morning. At the count of 2, let's go. 1, 2, let's go. It is
always a great morning. On the Good Morning Education Show.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.